The country in West Africa witnessed a remarkable surge of 8.4% in its gold exports, which is no little accomplishment. The globe is taking note of this sparkling news that has come directly from the nation's Statistics Bureau. What is the tale of Mali's golden achievement in 2022 then? It ultimately comes down to the industrial manufacture of gold. As they say, there's fire where there's smoke, and gold exports are rising along with industrial gold output. The figures speak for themselves. In 2022, Mali exported an incredible 69.3 tons of gold, up from 63.9 tons in 2021. That's a significant rise in the glittery things. This is when things really start to get interesting. Gold adds significantly to Mali's financial resources in addition to being a beautiful metal. As a matter of fact, it accounts for over 25% of the national budget. You can therefore picture the delight on the faces of Mali's economic geniuses upon witnessing those export figures steadily rising. In 2022, Mali's gold exports were valued at an astounding 2,001 billion CFA francs. That's a cool 3.24 billion in actual money. As opposed to 2021, when exports were estimated to be worth $3.02 billion, or about 1,167 billion CFA francs. With such a significant increase in value, it's easy to conclude that Mali's gold was dazzling the world. What, though, is behind this spike in gold exports? There are multiple forces at work. First and foremost, there is still a significant market for gold worldwide. Gold has traditionally been regarded highly by central banks and investors worldwide as a symbol of stability and prosperity. The wheels of gold production and exportation continue to move because of this persistent demand. Furthermore, Mali's efforts to expand its mining sector and upgrade its infrastructure have paid off handsomely. The process of extracting and exporting those shiny nuggets is considerably simplified when you have the appropriate instruments and resources. Furthermore, it is evident that Mali has made prudent investments in its bright future. As of 2022, Mali ranks 15th globally in terms of gold production, despite a 3.83% decrease in output from 2021. Mali's output grew at a compound annual growth rate, CAGR, of 7% for the 5 years ending in 2021. Between 2022 and 2026, it is anticipated to decline at a CAGR of 1.06%. In its West Africa Gold Mining to 2026 study, Global Data combines proprietary data and analytics to present a comprehensive view of this market. Mali became the 11th largest gold exporter in the world in 2021, with $9.03 billion worth of gold exports. Gold ranked first among Mali's exporting goods that year. United Arab Emirates, 7.32b, Switzerland, 136b, Australia, 300 Umar, Turkey, 826 Maumai, and the United Kingdom, 493, are the top destinations for Mali's gold exports. The top 3 countries from which Mali imports gold are Burkina Faso, 597k, Belgium, 21.2k, and Canada, 18.05k. Major participant in the mining sector in the Sahel, offers a complicated mosaic of difficulties, opportunities, and geopolitical factors. Sikasso, Koulikoro, and Kayes, 3 southern regions of Mali that are tucked away in the heart of the Sahel, are the main producers of gold in the nation. Because surface mining techniques are used and labor costs are low, the mining process in Mali is especially economical. Second only to Ghana in terms of significant gold reserve holdings in West Africa, Mali is projected to have 800 tons of gold reserves. Foreign companies dominate the industrial gold mining scene in Mali. Leading corporations in this field include AngloGold Ashanti, Randgold, and IAMGold, as well as smaller organizations primarily from Australia and Canada. 4 prominent mines, Sadiola, Morila, Yatela, and Sayama, marked the early years of industrial gold mining in Mali and contributed significantly to the nation's gold output. An essential part of Mali's gold ecology is artisanal gold mining. Approximately 400,000 people are employed in 350 of these mines. This industry has grown significantly since the late 1980s and provides essential economic support. Gold has become a more important economic factor, supporting Mali's financial stability. From 1984 to 2008, the mining industry's share of Mali's GDP increased from 1.5% to 8%. With this increase, Mali is now the third largest gold producer in Africa. Notably, the output of gold doubled between 1995 and 2000. By 2021, gold accounted for 80% of Mali's exports and provided employment for over 2 million people. But there is some tarnish to this bright gloss. The political instability of Mali has made the smuggling of gold from the country a serious political matter. Even the French army's efforts, coupled with the government's diminishing authority over the gold-rich southern regions, have not been sufficient to stop mafia-like groups from exploiting the gold. A well-known smuggling case in 2021 involving Mali, Madagascar, and the United Arab Emirates resulted in almost 133 kilos of gold, ingots being intercepted in South Africa, demonstrating the international involvement in Mali's gold mining and adding to the complexity of this issue. This situation in Mali poses a complex problem: the necessity for sustainable and fair mining methods that may benefit Mali and its people while addressing the larger regional and worldwide concerns is highlighted by the mining sector's entwinement with geopolitical tensions and internal instability, despite its continued importance as a pillar of the economy. Long before modern technology gained hold, gold mining in Mali was a straightforward process carried out using simple equipment. The history of the activity goes back to the time of the Islamic rulers, when Mali was a major hub for trans-Saharan trade, mostly involving the movement of salt and gold from places like Timbuktu and Djenné. The gold trade was especially important to the Mali Empire during the reign of Emperor Mansa Musa Warren in the 1300s. The richest man in history, Mansa Musa, took advantage of Mali's advantageous location along the Niger River basin to dominate the commerce of kola nuts, salt, and gold throughout North and West Africa. But there was a change during the colonial era. During the more than 75 years of French rule, the emphasis shifted away from gold. Many of Mali's economic sectors, notably gold mining, remained underdeveloped as a result of France's greater investment in its coastal possessions such as Senegal. The focus was on agriculture, specifically the production of cotton for export, which fundamentally changed Mali's economic environment. Under colonial regulations, the trans-Saharan commerce, which was formerly a major contributor to Mali's wealth, decreased. However, artisanal mining continued, with nearby people employing crude equipment and methods to harvest gold. Following its independence, Mali experienced a boom in industrial gold mining throughout the Cold War. Mali, which was in alliance with the USSR, had substantial U.S. interference in its mining industry. Among these was the construction of the Kalana gold mine in southwest Mali, an endeavor with great promise but was ultimately complicated by the fall of the Soviet Union. After the Soviet Union fell apart in 1991, the facility that had been constructed to treat gold ore stopped operating. It was finished in 1984. The majority of mining operations in Mali were taken over by South African mining companies by the mid-1990s. Foreign firms are currently working to revive the mines that the Soviet Union used to support. Mali's mining industry is still developing. It went from traditional artisanal methods to contemporary industrial endeavors. This indicates how the country is constantly changing in response to political and economic upheavals throughout the world. Grasp Mali's economic and geopolitical narrative requires a grasp of the country's gold tale, which is intricately linked to its cultural and historical identity. Mali is disintegrating. Following the devolution of the northeastern region of Kidal, where the French army's presence was insufficient to stop mafia-like groups eager to capitalize on the region's vast gold reserves. From seizing power, the Malian government now seems to be losing control over the neighboring region of Timbuktu, which is also rich in resources. France, which says it is working as part of Operation Barkhane to preserve Mali's unity and territorial integrity, and the UN, which is said to be doing the same with MINUSMA, are standing by while Mali progressively collapses. The African Union, AU, and the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, are likewise inactive, in part because the authorities in Paris believe they are unqualified to handle disputes and emergencies in French-speaking Africa. What is the cause of the Malian state's impending collapse? Is it the inevitable result of long-standing local issues, or is there a darker force at work? Is it possible that a former colonial state, which is quickly losing its authority on the African continent, and thus suffering significant financial and economic challenges, is purposefully fostering the conditions necessary for the country to fall apart? Since a coup in 2012 made it possible for Tuareg separatists to take control of northern towns and cities, Mali has been in a state of chaos. The Tuareg were then routed by rebels associated with Al-Qaeda, who seized control of northern Mali for almost 10 months, until being driven out by a military campaign spearheaded by France. Officially, the French military is in the nation to fight terrorism and assist it in regaining control over the northern areas. However, the true motivation for Paris's determination to keep endangering the lives of French soldiers in a distant nation is, of course, to safeguard French geostrategic and economic interests, including its exploitation of the area's uranium and gold deposits. The primary Tuareg separatist group, the National Movement for Liberation of the Azawad, MNLA, has long had open support from France. Throughout Mali's conflict, French media has covered the MNLA rebels' fight for freedom extensively, romanticizing the rebels as the men in blue in its poetic reportage. For geopolitical reasons, France was sympathetic to the rebels because it believed the MNLA could defend France's economic interests in the area against fighters associated with Al-Qaeda and future attempts by the national government to seize complete control of the country's natural resources. The MNLA, other Tuareg separatist organizations, and Arab nationalists united to form the Coordination of Movements of Azawad, CMA, in 2014, with encouragement from France. It struck a peace agreement with the Malian government a year later. The accord gave Mali's thinly populated northern region more autonomy. International media emphasized Algeria's part in the agreement's signature, but spectators in Mali knew that the main architect of the agreement was none other than France, the nation's former colonial master. Many commentators at the time, in France as well as Africa, predicted that the peace agreement would spell the end for the Malian state as we know it. For example, early on, Senegalese political scholar Babacar Justin Ndiaye declared that the peace agreement is so bad we can call it the Shroud of Mali. Meanwhile, Joseph Brunet Jaili, a lecturer at Sciences Po in Paris, stated that the peace agreement plans for the autonomy of a vast region without actually spelling it out. This is obviously suicidal for the north of Mali. As for Mali as a whole, Brunet Jaili continued, after 4 years, it is evident that the peace agreement did, in fact, set the stage for Mali's collapse. Beyond the purview of the Malian government, the devolved territory of Kidal, which is formally governed by the CMA but is really ruled by the French military, has developed into a hotbed of violence and anarchy. Additionally, earlier this month, a document issued by CMA was leaked to the public, requesting a meeting on September 3 to discuss Timbuktu's reorganization in order to assume full administrative control. The official division of Mali is the only possible result of this action, which would essentially eliminate the central government's control over this region of the nation. At present, neither the Malian army, which is essentially barred from accessing Kidal and its environs, nor the MINUSMA are able to impede CMA's takeover of Timbuktu and subsequent consolidation of its authority over the northern regions. The only country that can halt Mali's collapse is France. Nonetheless, the French government is uninterested in doing so since it sees CMA's sphere of influence extension as a means of securing its position in the nation. The French mainstream media is once again painting an inaccurate picture of the actual situation on the ground. By concentrating its reporting on the significant gold rush occurring in Kidal rather than the instability, bloodshed, and disintegration threat engulfing the country it is attempting to deceive the international community. For instance, writer Olivier Dubois discussed Kidal's lucrative gold fever in an April piece for Le Point, omitting to mention the French military's continued occupation or the lack of the Malian state in the area. All of these efforts may culminate in the northern region's de facto independence in September, when CMA formally assumes control of Timbuktu. This would probably spark fresh disputes between the already dispersed separatist parties and plunge the area into chaos once more. The neo-colonial strategy to split up Mali in an effort to seize control of its abundant resources is known to the Malian society. Photos from a 2015 demonstration in which Malians displayed placards reading "Holland equals MNLA" and set fire to the French flag are now again trending on Mali social media. Not only is there a strong anti-French sentiment in Mali, but throughout French-speaking West Africa as well. People regularly take to the streets to express their desire for old colonialists to leave their countries. Just last month, in Senegal, a country that borders Mali, activist Guy Marius Sagna, the leader of a movement called Frappe France Dégage, the Front for a Popular and Pan-African Anti-Imperialist Revolution, France Clear, was detained due to a Facebook post that claimed France is mentally preparing Senegalese citizens to accept the existence of a terrorist threat in order to justify its military presence there. The post that landed Sagna in hot water mentioned Mali, a country where the French army's presence further exacerbated the chaos and division there. The second stage of France's neo-colonial strategy, to guarantee its access to Mali's abundant natural riches by partitioning the nation and undermining the central government, has already begun, with CMA getting ready to seize control of Timbuktu. It seems that Paris, which has a history of showing little concern for the welfare of Africans, is unconcerned about the anticipated increase in violence and murder that this will bring to the nation. Signing a new mining treaty with the goal of raising the state's gold earnings by Assimi Goïta, the transitional president of Mali, is a significant move for the country, especially considering its current political and economic circumstances. Mali, one of the biggest gold-producing countries in Africa, has never fully benefited from its abundance of natural resources. Foreign investments and interests that have dominated the mining industry are somewhat to blame for this scenario. By renegotiating mining agreements and protocols, President Goïta seems to be pushing towards a more beneficial arrangement for Mali, attempting to ensure that a more significant share of the cash from gold mining comes directly to the national economy. He received his training in Mali's military colleges, most notably at the Joint Military School in Koulikoro and the Prytanée Militaire de Kati. His father was an officer in the Malian Armed Forces. His spouse, Lala Diallo, is a Fula ethnicity member. Goïta was a colonel in the Malian Armed Forces Autonomous Special Forces Battalion, a special forces organization. With the rank of colonel, he is in charge of the Malian special forces stationed in the country's center. Thus, he is faced with the Mali Islamist insurgency. He got to know Mamadi Doumbouya, a Guinean, in 2018. Goïta had worked with the United States Army and got instruction from the United States, France, and Germany. Goïta led the National Committee for the Salvation of the People, a group of rebels that deposed Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta during the coup d'etat in Mali in 2020 and promised to call fresh elections to take his place. The Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, put pressure on Mali's ruling junta to name a civilian leader of the nation as a result of this vow. A group of 17 voters named Goïta vice president on September 24, while Ba Ndao was named president. On September 21, 2020, he was named vice president of the transition. He was to hold the office for 18 months or until fresh elections. He assumed office on September 25, 2020, and took the oath. The Mali transition letter, which was released on October 1, 2020, said that the vice president in charge of defense and security issues would not be permitted to succeed President Ba Ndao. This was in response to a request from the ECOWAS. Goita participated in the coup d'état in Mali on May 24, 2021, and then he took over. Both Prime Minister Mokhtar Wane and President Nda were taken into custody. Goita promised elections in 2022, alleging that Nda was trying to sabotage the shift to democracy. Goita's allegation that Nda neglected to contact him regarding a cabinet reshuffle served as the catalyst for the coup. The expulsion of Colonel Sadio Camara from his position as defense minister was reportedly one of the driving forces for the most recent coup. Goita nominated Camara as defense minister after seizing power once more. The Mali Constitutional Court named him acting president on May 28, 2021. According to the court's decision, Goita is to lead the transition process to its conclusion and should be referred to as President of the Transition, Head of State. He announced that he would name an M5 RFP coalition prime minister that same day. In a constitutional referendum held on June 23, 2023, 97% of voters approved the new constitution. 39.4% of voters who were registered to vote took part in the referendum. Opponents of the new constitution claimed that it would lessen the likelihood of democratic reforms and that the referendum was tainted. The new constitution was contentious. It was revealed on July 25, 2023, that Goita had pardoned 46 Ivory Coast soldiers who had been given sentences in December 2022. Goita met Russian President Vladimir Putin during the 2023 Russia-Africa Summit in July 2023 in St. Petersburg. Goita and Putin reconvened the day following the summit's conclusion to talk about Russia's continued humanitarian and economic assistance to Mali in the face of sanctions imposed by surrounding nations. Following the Nigerian coup d'état in 2023, Goita proclaimed his support for the junta in Nigeria, and the junta allowed the Malian armed forces to enter the nation. What are your thoughts about Mali's extraordinary past and present circumstances? Please share your opinions in the comments section below and let's start a conversation. Additionally, remember to subscribe to our channel if you're fascinated by the colorful cultures and rich history of many civilizations. We can continue investigating and presenting these intriguing stories thanks to your support. Until the next video, see you.